What's going on YouTube? In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this. First thing you're going to want to do is drop the original track in your playlist. Alright, let's check out what the tempo is. It's going to be in between 75 and 150. Okay, so it's 126. Alright, so let's quickly analyze the song structure. It's a 16-bar intro, a 16-bar verse, a build-up of 8 bars, and a drop of 32 bars. It's a 4-part drop. The melody comes in at the first part, then it's the hats, and then on the third part is going to be just an extra synth, and then the fourth part of the drop is a completely different beat. Alright guys, I'm going to take 5 minutes, work on this Midi, and I'll be right back. Alright, the Midi for the intro sounds like this. The only thing that's different between the first part and the second part is a little variation at the end here. Alright, the Midi for the drop looks like this. There's only a couple of variations here. And the third part, which is only used once at the drop, is the beginning that's different. But essentially it's the same as the first part. Sounds like this. Alright, the scale of the track is in G minor, so I'm going to go ahead and activate the scale. If you want to do that, you can go in View, Scale Highlighting, select Minor Natural, and you want to go back to View, Scale Highlighting, and select G. And now you have the G minor scale highlighted in the background, and you can see that all the notes are on the scale. Okay, I'm going to work on the drums and the transitions. Should take me 10-15 minutes. I'll be right back. Alright guys, for the drums and the transition, there's nothing going on in the intro. For the build-up, we have some clap every second bar, some white noise, a little bit of crash, with some reverb and some delay. We have a snare roll. Make sure to quantize your snare roll, especially at the end where the fill is. And we also have a little bit of atmosphere. The atmosphere is more just to fill the space, to be honest. For the drop, it's a 4 to the floor pattern. We have the first kick, which is a low kick. The second kick is more of a clicky kick. And then we just have that clap again from the build-up that continues. We also have a bigger clap, which is a lot of reverb. And the same clap is used, just reversed at the beginning. For the second part, we just have a similar fill, except it's a triplet kick. For the third part, we have some white noise going in, and then just an empty. The first 3 bars are empty. Alright, I'm going to work on the sound design for the bass and the leads. I'll be right back. Okay, for the sound design in the intro, we have an intro bass, and this is actually one of my favorite bass out there. It's just a respace patch, nothing crazy. It looks like this. So it's just one oscillator and just some hyper dimension expansion. That's really it. A lot of voices, and yeah, it just sounds great. Alright guys, I'm just gonna let you in on a little secret. All these presets, these samples, the Midi, FLP, all that are linked in the description below for free. So make sure to go check them out, and don't forget to like it, eh? So for the lead in the intro, sounds like this. There's a couple of automations going on. Some automation on the cutoff, just going up, down, up, down. There's some reverb and delay happening with the endless smile automation. And then there's also a free filter, which is kind of the same as the cutoff, just doing a little bit of a different thing, just to get lower before the drop. Okay guys, so for the bass in the drop, we just started off with a tail reversed. We start off with a sub. The sub is nothing special, just a sub bass, 2 octave downs, no effects. And then if you go into the mixer, we just have a little bit of EQ, which is keeping it in the low end. The second bass for the low end is this one, which is just kind of a plug bass, couple effects going on here, some dimension expansion, some phaser delay. And in the mixer, we just have some EQ, which is kind of keeping it in the lower mid-range. For the next 3 basses are FM basses, which are these 3, which are all linked to this router channel. None of these have effects on them, except for on the route channel. We have some EQ, which is keeping it in the higher mid-range. FM basses are known for that metallic sound that you hear very often in these future house tracks. The second one, second plugin I have is a little bit of compression. Not a lot of compression. I think I'm using this mostly for gaining, just to get more volume out of the sound. And then the third plugin I have is some vintage verb. 26%, 2 second, nothing crazy. You probably hardly hear it. The last sound in the drop is the piano. Sounds like this. So I have some gatekeeper, which is just kind of doing an envelope, which is being triggered by this Midi out. Some soothe, which is just getting rid of resonance. Some Q3, which is kind of just placing it in the spectrum. Some vintage reverb, again 26%, 2.5 seconds, nothing crazy. This is an M1 piano, so you guys probably don't have this plugin, but what I did is rendered it out to a direct wave instrument, which you can actually use in your project. It's in the description below. All you have to do is drag and drop it. It's going to look like this once you drop it in. So this is actually a really cool piano instrument. It's great for that classic future house sounds. It's like metallic, very plucky. It kind of sounds like this. Let's look at it. I'm just gonna grab some random chord pattern. Oops. So yeah, it's a pretty cool sound. So make sure to use it in your tracks because I love that sound. So that's it for the drop bass. There's nothing else really going on here. All these the high bass is going to the bass and the low bass is going to the bass also. In the bass route, I just have some compression, which I believe is actually doing quite a lot. So yeah, we have about 2 decibel of compression going on here. The ratio is 4:1, pretty standard stuff. For the EQ, I think I just raised this, there wasn't enough frequency in this range, so I just raised it to kind of match the original track. This is being routed to another channel, which is just some reverb, and that reverb is actually being sidechained by the original source. So if I were to turn this off, it's just gonna sound a lot drier. Alright, I'm just gonna talk about the drum mixing a little bit. I have the low kick going into the kick channel, the high kick going into the kick channel, the clap going into the snare and clap channel, and my hats going into the hats. All these 3 are going into a final route channel, which is pretty much all the drums. In this one, I have a free clip, just keeping it at about 6 decibels. So if I were to turn off the compression on my master and just solo all the drums, you're gonna get about -5 decibels. I usually try to aim for -6, and the same thing is true for the bass. So the bass sounds like this. We're getting at about -7 decibels. I'm assuming that's because it sounded better, closer to the original track that way. And together, if I turn back on all my drums and just keep the drums and the bass, because those are the main elements of the song. So we're getting at about, -4, -3 decibels for that. And if you turn everything back on, we have about -3 decibels of headroom, which I'm just compressing it with Ozone 5. If you don't have Ozone 5, you can go with Ozone Element, which I also have. It's a pretty good plugin, and that one's free, so use that one. So there's one last sound I want to talk about, and it's in the third part of the drop. Sounds like this. This sound has a little bit more attack than the other ones, and it has a lot of port activated, so it has a lot of glide to the notes. And if you play it all together, so yeah, it's just to keep the song interesting and moving forward. He does a lot of like little variations because there's not a whole lot going on in this song. It's just the intro is a bass and a lead, which is following the exact same note as the bass, and then in the drop is just a big fat bass line. You know what I mean? So he adds these little variation at the beginning of the bars, and then for the third part he adds just an extra synth to keep it interesting. And then the fourth part, he just switches it all completely around. So that's kind of like an outro to the drop going into the second verse, and then it builds back up to the second drop, which is very similar to the first one, so I'm not going to get into it. Alright guys, that was my remake of Afterlife by Tchami. I really enjoyed making this remake. I learned quite a lot, especially stacking those bass sounds at the drop. If you like this video, just make sure to give it a like, subscribe, leave a comment on what you'd like to see me break down and remake next. Next week's video is actually going to be a video on sidechaining. I have 5 different methods for sidechaining in FL Studio, so if you want to learn about that, just make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. Other than that, just also go check out the description. All these samples, these presets, the FLP, they're all free for your download. There's a link to my Dropbox. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.